Welcome to this week's episode of Sports Corner, where we talk about everything sports related. I'm your host, Dylan Durcholz, alongside Eli Clark, joining you on this wonderful Thursday. In store for this episode will be a Thursday night football preview, college football preview, and a fantasy football tips segment.
Starting off tonight at 8:15, the Vikings will be traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. The Vikings are coming off their first loss of the year in a close game against the Lions, and the Rams are coming off a close game against the Raiders. Matthew Stafford should snap out of his slump with his superstar wide receiver Cooper Kupp back in action. On the flip side, other superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson, coming off his injury last year, ranks 5th in receiving yards. His quarterback Sam Darnold ranks tied for 5th in passing touchdowns. A high-scoring game is definitely in store tonight.
Moving into Saturday's slate of games, starting off with College Game Day, which is coming to Bloomington, where the 13th-ranked Hoosiers take on the Huskies of Washington. Curtis Rourke and his undefeated Hoosiers strive to keep their hot streak alive and remain on top of the Big Ten. Other key games this Saturday include the 8th-ranked LSU at 14th-ranked Texas A&M. This one could be an upset, as this matchup, dating back all the way to 2018, has been electric every single time. Don't forget back in that 2018 game where it went into 7 overtimes and the Aggies were triumphant just 1 year before the Tigers won the national championship. Quinn Ewers and his 5th-ranked Texas Longhorns play at the 25th-ranked Vanderbilt Commodores. Texas, the previously ranked number 1 team, defeated last week against Georgia. Ewers was benched midway through the game, so he will come out hungry against a surprisingly good Vandy team who defeated Bama earlier in the year. Finally, Riley Leonard and his 12th-ranked Fighting Irish, looking to continue their great season despite the loss to NIU. The Irish will certainly have to win out if they want a chance in that 12-team playoff format. They will head to play at 24th-ranked Navy, the midshipmen undefeated to this point. It's always a phenomenal matchup between these two previously placed independent teams. Therefore, we should see some mix-ups in the AP Top 25 poll, as some matchups this week could result in upsets.
Transitioning into our fantasy football picks for this week. For my quarterback, I have Anthony Richardson against the Texans. In week 1 against the Texans, Richardson popped off with 26.08 points on just 9 completions. Last week, heading into halftime, he proved how accurate he can be, and I believe that he will bring that into this week.
My quarterback start for Week 8 is Bo Nix of the Broncos. He rushed for 75 yards last week against the Saints. He plays against the Carolina defense, who last week gave up over 40 points and 2 touchdowns to Marcus Mariota and the Commanders. He should be able to run all over Carolina, and I believe that the Broncos will put up a bunch of points on this lackluster Panther defense.
For my running back, I have Alexander Madison. Last week against the Rams, he had 23 carries for 92 yards, along with 3 receptions for 31 yards. The Raiders are up against the Chiefs, and although they held Jordan Mason to just 58 yards, I believe if the Raiders want to break the Chiefs' undefeated record, they are going to have to rely on Madison to help them get into the end zone.
At my running back position, give me Rico Dowdle. He's coming off of a bye week, so he should be plenty rested up. In Week 6, though, despite a terrible performance by Dallas's offense, Dowdle managed to reel in 5 receptions for 30 yards. The Cowboys face off against the 49ers on Sunday night primetime this week, where last week the 49ers gave up over 75 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns to Kareem Hunt. Rico Dowdle should be in for a good workload in an off-and-on Cowboys offense.
For my wide receiver, I'm taking Ladd McConkey. This is a bit of a risky take, but he has consistently been getting around 7 targets per game, and Justin Herbert is coming off a 349-yard game. The Chargers are coming off a rough loss against the Cardinals, and they want to kick it into high gear against the Saints, who allowed 30-plus points to the Broncos last week.
And last but not least, my wide receiver is Darnell Mooney. He's had over 5 targets in 6 out of the 7 games this year. The Falcons play the Buccaneers, who just gave up 5 touchdowns to Lamar Jackson. Kirk Cousins should air the ball out plenty, and Darnell Mooney is his second favorite target. I wouldn't be surprised if Kirk recreates his Thursday night football performance back in Week 5 against the same division rival opponent.
That's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Sports Corner. Hope you all enjoyed the preview segments as well as benefit from some of our tips. I'm Eli Clark alongside Dylan Durcholz. See you all next week.